Hey guys! So this week we did our career genograms. So we sort of mapped out the careers our family has had and do now, um, and how that has influenced or can influence what we do and what we want to do, and then how we can apply that to career counseling as a whole. Um, I thought it was kind of fun. Most of the stuff I already knew, but it was nice sort of having it laid out. And the stuff that I didn't know had to do with like the education that family members got to get to the careers that they're in now, which was kind of refreshing. It was surprising. Um, what I really appreciated in our textbook, which was the postmodern career counseling one, in chapter 10 by Brought, is when she said, adults' attitudes and behaviors emerge from a collective memory of formative events in early life that become a generational identity. I thought that said a lot for like how, great big political and social and community events influence the careers that we choose. And I think we see that in our like grandparents' generation, or at least my grandparents' generation, of like factory jobs were really important and big. There was much more farming in my area, and it was like a big step of like women finally being empowered and taking careers. Especially in my family, we didn't really have any women just as the homemaker. We were all working very hard through everything. Especially like my great grandparents came here as immigrants and were farmers. So Anna, like, sitting back and not doing anything wasn't an option. She was like pretty tough. Um, and I see that both sides, all of the women in my family are really, really hard workers, which I could see as being really empowering for somebody in career counseling. Like seeing a strong family of women and like sort of the bloodlines of hard workers and what sort of values are in those careers. I appreciated that, like, within my family, you really see that sort of the American dream of everybody working really hard to make better lives for their children. Going back to Pamela Brought's point of how the times are influencing careers and what jobs people feel attracted to. I said, like, our grandparents' generation, it was a lot of the factory work, and then you can like hop down to our generation, and like we're shifting. Hardly any factory jobs anymore, but there's so much in technology. And what I find even more special and interesting is like this horrid, very strange political climate that we're in right now. I think we see a lot of people going towards ethical and political jobs, especially women. There's like more than like 20% or something. It's either 20 or 60% of more women running for politics than ever before since the 2016 election, which in some ways is terrifying because things got that bad, but also like awesome because we're seeing so much change right now. And I think that's sort of undeniable when you look at our generation and the careers that are even just happening. They're being made as we speak. Back in my grandparents' generation, creative arts therapy hardly existed. I mean, it was there, but it definitely wasn't like licensed or anything. So it's really cool that like the jobs that we have exist now. I also thought from the textbook, the list of questions from Gibson and Taylor in chapter 11 of like what educational patterns did you see, what occupational patterns did you see, like who do you identify with, and like were you inspired by, and what values are important to your family. I thought that was really special, and what I think is really empowering with my family is, with the exception of my mother and I, we're the only ones that went and got master's degrees. None of my grandparents did college. I think eventually my grandfather went back and got his associate's degree, but for a long time he didn't even finish high school. He had to go back and get his GED later, and then like my parents and aunts and uncles in that generation, my father and uncle both just started out with associate's degrees and then were able to build careers on top of that. And it just goes a lot to say that you don't need a college education to have an extremely successful and meaningful career. And I grew up knowing that. I did also a lot of research, and from my mom's experience of getting her master's, like I knew to do a job as specific as the one that I wanted to do, I would need my master's. But, sorry, Olive says hello. I would need my master's, but knowing that it wasn't necessary, and some of the most smart and successful people that I knew didn't have to do a ton of college to do the jobs that they wanted to do. I know that you just want to see my dog. So that was really important to me deciding a career. And my father's values of, if you don't feel passionate about what you're doing, you can change your mind. He always told me when I would ask, like, I would say, I don't know what I want to be when he grew up. He would say, he's like, that's fine. I don't know what I want to be when I grow up. Just pick what you want to be first. And that was a really important part of my childhood and sort of like the organic career counseling you get growing up. So the values, and he constantly changed careers because of, like, when he was a business owner, he didn't find the meaning in it. I mean, obviously there was financial value, but there wasn't, he didn't feel like he was helping people. He then switched to like a nonprofit, and he eventually left that nonprofit because he felt they had lost the values that made that charity important, and he kept, sort of switching careers on like a moral code. And even to this day, he's got tons of experience. His resume would be outstanding, but like education-wise, he's only has his associate's degree, and he's still led such a beautiful series of careers. And I think it's important, especially as career counselors, to sort of guide people through that college isn't always necessary. I know our generation's slightly different because resumes are slightly more relied on, and there are, I think, stricter codes of people wanting higher levels of education, which is a whole other conversation of things being kind of messed up. But perhaps after that, bachelor's degree, that you can form your careers into whatever you want them to be, and that you're not tied to a specific thing forever. And I think that's really important.